WRVA. Thanks so much for joining us. Coming up a little bit later on the program, we will have the president of Richmond Raceway, Lori Warren. She's actually going to come in studio with us. Rare in studio visit. So we'll talk to her coming up in just a little bit. I got a little bit of sports I want to do with you this morning. So I had an opportunity. I met SVG. He is a New Zealand driver, Shane Van Ginsbergen. And I got a chance to ask him a couple questions and just asked him, how do you get from New Zealand to NASCAR? Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the program. Obviously, people can tell by your accent. You didn't grow up in North Carolina. You're from Auckland, New Zealand. So big. I know you get asked this all the time, but I got to know, did you know about NASCAR growing up? And how do you make the jump from Auckland to the United States?
So I raced in Australia. I moved to Australia when I was 18 to race in V8 supercars, and there was a driver named Marcus Ambrose who he came and raced NASCAR in the sort of 2010s, mid 2000s, I guess. And so yes, kind of followed it and knew about it. And when I got the opportunity to come race here and have a go, it was pretty cool and turned into a full-time thing.
So he'll be one of the racers at Richmond Raceway this weekend. Again, Friday is the truck series, and then the big race comes up on Saturday. We'll have more information for you all week long. Like I said, Lori Warren's going to join us. I think Austin Dillon will be on the program before the end of the week as well, as we get ready for race week here in Richmond. Now, I had one other story I needed to bring you this morning. Now, Super Dave, I'm not doing this because I want to. I said this yesterday, there is not a huge contingent of WNBA fans. I looked it up, and, honestly, they're not even in the top 10 most popular sports in America. Well below golf, well below tennis, well below the National Football League, but they keep asking me to talk about them. So we've been talking about the coach of the Fever, the team that Caitlin Clark plays for. And after Sophie Cunningham, who now has become a household name, and again, I told you, Sophie Cunningham just made a statement to ESPN. She is not a warrior for the right wing. We've made her into this because anytime we have anybody that agrees with us on the right, we are so self-conscious and we have so little self-esteem, we will just adopt everybody and try to make them into something big. We did it with Kim Kardashian. We did it with Kanye. Now they were foisting everything on this basketball player, just simply made a statement. And now we expect her to be that flag bearer for the rest of us. Yes, that's right. She's just a basketball player. Don't put too much on her. Let her go out and play basketball. Now, the other day, in case you missed it, she was going up for basket. She got clothesline clobbered over the head. Coach came out and said, well, it was a clean play. I will tell you, somebody that covered sports forever, that's the most garbage statement from a coach I've ever seen. I've never seen a coach, when you get a flagrant foul that kicks the other player out of the game, to actually defend the player on the other team and not stand up for yours. Whether you think your player's right or wrong, you always stand up for your team. You always stand up for your players. That's why managers get thrown out in baseball all the time. That's why coaches get fined. You stand up for the people in your room. And at that moment, after the game press conference, she defended the player that basically tried to decapitate her player. Then she's gotten a lot of grief from it. And again, as the Republicans and the conservatives all jump on that Sophie Cunningham bandwagon, how dare you go get our person? Then the player that tried to take her head off with a cheap shot said, well, and she makes it racial. It's not racial at all. Nobody ever thought that in the least. But now this thing has taken on a life of its own. But I wanted to play you some sound bites from this coach who's complaining about people like me talking about this on news radio. They've talked about it on Fox, on Newsmax. They've talked about it on CNN, all over. ESPN has been ridiculous with their coverage of this. So one-sided, so poor, so tone-deaf. It's one of the reasons I don't work in sports anymore. But I wanted to bring you her reaction to what we've been talking about. Dave, let's play part one. This is her complaining about, quote unquote, there's an online community that's coming after us.
This is more for an online community that's trying to create narratives that simply don't exist, trying to create a fabrication or distortion of who I am, of what I'm about. Our players' success, our players' health and wellness, our players' safety is always a top priority for me. One of the things I pride myself on is my relationships with players. For those who have anything to say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time.
Okay. Let me point out why this whole thing is complete garbage. If you show up at the press conference and you're not prepared to get up there on the podium, then you're unprepared and you're not doing your job. The fact that there was an egregious foul and they kicked her out and you go back and you defend the other player with two of your players, Kayla Clark was sitting next to her, and you don't stand up for your team, that's garbage. And now you're saying, well, it's an online community, you're attacking me. I didn't attack you personally. I didn't say anything about you personally. I'm talking about you as a coach. Here's one thing I've learned, that when you talk about the WNBA, I want to talk about what's going on the court. You want to talk about everything else under the sun over there. I don't care about you. I don't care about you personally. You're a coach. You have a job. You failed to do your job. That was the criticism. The fact that the WNBA had a player almost knocked to the ground by someone hitting her in the head, and nobody reacted. Nobody did anything. And there's people that are defending it. That's why nobody pays attention to your league. She goes on, though. She's not just done with that. Like, oh, well, all of a sudden the criticism. Could you imagine? Could you imagine a coach in another sport? Well, we're criticizing what you did. Well, now you're attacking me personally. No, I'm criticizing what you did. That's what happens when you're a professional athlete. That's what happens when you're a professional coach. But she wants to go on and make it more about being something else. Here she is. Here's part 2, where she goes, well, anybody who's saying that I'm not staying, I take it personally. Here's part 2 of her rant.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time. They know that. It's a shame that we can't have an opportunity to talk about what great basketball they're playing, because they are playing. The reality is, with me, I will always lead with love. I will always lead with grace. I will always lead with humility. And I will always lead with integrity. Doesn't mean I'll always get it right. I'm also human. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. It won't win.
Okay. So in the middle of your big speech about integrity, you drop an F-bomb. That tells me something right there. You want to talk about all the rest of this. Here's the interesting part is, folks, this is why all of this is just a canard. She's standing there slamming her fist down, will not win. By the way, I think I need to point out to everybody, she was reading from notes. She had prepared talking points for this. This is not an impassioned coach. This is not Dennis Green. We know who they are. This is not any of that. This is not Mike Van Gundy standing there and just going off. This was 100% scripted. This is 100% preconceived. And this is 100% of her feigning outrage. But she wasn't done just quite there, because people like me are trying to not talk about how great this league is. And we are actually talking about something that happened on the floor, and you can't handle the criticism. But she said that, we're not going to stand for this. And then we have integrity. And then now, take a listen. My favorite part, she goes to all of the usual talking points and sayings before she tells me where I can go.
We are united. We are connected. We will not be divided. Every day, these women put their on the line. Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
I will stand by them, and everybody who's criticizing me like Rich Herrera can go to hell. Wow. You know, it's all the cliches and everything
1
else
minute.
because they just don't want to talk about what everybody else is wanting to talk about. That's the woke left. There's nobody that's attacking anybody. And you know, she got to the collective of the we. Is she talking about the WNBA or is she talking about her players? Could you imagine an NFL coach over there? They just cheap shotted my quarterback, and I'm going to stand there and defend the we of the entire league. No, I'm going to stand up for my players that I go to play with. And as far as putting everything on the line, we're asking you to be, if you want us to accept you as a professional league, we're asking you to do what everybody else does, which is you take the criticism, the fans ask questions, the media ask questions. Are you trying to say that you work harder and you put it all on the line more than any other professional league? Or are you finally discovering what happens when you have a league that's propped up by wokeness, by the NBA, who's never made a dime and has a TV contract at the largesse of the National Basketball Association because they prop the whole thing up. And when you really get underneath the spotlight, you see what happens. You go back to the woke ideology and everybody else is out to get me, and you play the victim card. That's a big difference, conservatives and liberals. Who's the victim? I'm not a victim. Apparently, criticizing her for not standing up for a player, she's going to play the victim card. What do you guys think? I want to hear from you. 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140, the number for you to join us. I'm trying not to talk about it, but they just keep sucking me back in. It's like The Godfather. Just when you think you get out, they bring you back in. 833-804-1140, the number for you to join us. All right, today's program brought to you in part by our friends at A+ Windows.